Last week, Congress did something it almost never does. It agreed. And look, our political system right now is about as functional as a solar-powered flashlight in a coal mine. So when both parties vote 358 to 32 for the exact same thing, you got to stop and check whether the sky is falling. What they passed was the biggest housing bill in decades, the one that's supposed to stop Wall Street from buying up the houses on your street. And then the president walked to the microphone, looked at that rare little moment of agreement, and basically said, "Cute house you got here. Shame if something happened to it." And as of this recording, he's not signing it. Not because he hates the housing rules, because he's holding it hostage for something completely unrelated, essentially ripped from the pages of Art of the Deal. So the bill that's supposed to protect your street is sitting on a desk in Washington right now, unsigned, a bargaining chip. Here's the deal, and you can relate, or you know someone who can. You did everything right, you saved the down payment, you waited for the right house, and then you watched it vanish in 24 hours, snatched up by some anonymous LLC that made an all-cash offer without ever once showing up to look at it. Or maybe it's your kid now, outbid over and over until they just stopped looking. You're not imagining it. It feels like you're playing Monopoly against a banker who's allowed to reach over and steal your dice. And you are right to be angry. By the end of this, you'll know who's really buying the houses on your street, because it's not who they told you, why Washington finally moved to stop them, how both sides agreed for the first time in years, and how it got ambushed at the 1-yard line, sitting on a desk right now, no signature. And then the one move that puts your family on the right side of it, instead of watching it from the porch. Let's start with the story you've been told. Wall Street, BlackRock, the hedge funds, buying up all the homes. And in some places, dead true. In Atlanta, big institutional investors own about 1 in 4 single-family rentals. Memphis, Charlotte, Jacksonville, Tampa, same movie. If you live there, your anger is earned. Your street really is the target. But is Wall Street the shooter or the decoy? Watch. Everyone outside those hot zones, those same institutions own less than 1% of the homes. New York City, 1/10 of 1%. San Francisco, 2/10. And the giant buyers everybody's screaming about, the 350 homes and up crowd, their buying has fallen off a cliff, down about 65% from where it peaked in 2021. They're pulling back, not piling in, for now. So Congress is throwing a parade about stopping a Wall Street takeover that, outside of a few hot metros, is already shrinking on its own if it's not over completely. Why would they make a show of fighting something that's walking out the door? Here's why. BlackRock, the name on every angry comment online, doesn't even buy single-family homes. Said it flat out, no exposure. And they quietly backed this bill. Of course they did. They don't need to buy the houses. And I'll show you why in a minute. As long as you're screaming their name, though, you're not looking at the right hand. That's the whole trick. You gin up a phantom menace, slap a scary corporate name on it, vote to heroically ban it, and the machine that actually built this thing keeps grinding you down, completely undisturbed. Which raises the only question that matters. Where did this Wall Street landlord come from in the first place? They didn't fall out of the sky. Somebody dealt them in. And once you see who, you will not be able to unsee it. Go back to 2008, the crash. 9 million families lost their homes to foreclosure. And when the smoke cleared, guess who was holding all those empty houses? The government. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, every bit of it backed by your tax dollars. Now, they had a choice. A real one. They could have sold those houses back to families, to first-time home buyers, to local people who would actually live in them. They could have taken the worst housing disaster in modern history and turned it into a fresh start for the exact people who just got crushed. That is not what they did. In 2012, the agency in charge opened a program called REO to Rental, real estate owned. Notice how they scrubbed the humanity right out of the words? They don't say, we took 9 million families' shattered lives and boxed them up. They call it an asset class, clinical, sterile. Language built to make a historic catastrophe sound like a routine inventory adjustment. And in plain English, here's what it was. They took those foreclosed homes, thousands at a time, bundled them up, and sold them in bulk at fire sale prices to the richest financial firms in the country. One condition, you had to rent them out. Blackstone showed up that same year, a name commonly confused with BlackRock. Easy to do, but two different companies. Blackstone spun up a company called Invitation Homes. From 2012 to 2016, they bought 48,000 houses for $10 billion. At one stretch, they were spending $150 million a week. And then, in 2017, Fannie Mae, your taxpayer-backed agency, put its guarantee behind a billion-dollar loan for Invitation Homes. First time the government ever backstopped a Wall Street landlord like that. I mean, your bank won't co-sign a lawnmower for you. And the same system turns around and hands a billionaire a $1 billion check so he can buy your lawn, your house, and then charge you a subscription fee to look out your own front window. By 2022, 32 of these firms owned 450,000 single-family homes between them. So when Washington stands up last week and says, "Don't you worry, we're going to stop Wall Street from buying up your street," just understand who's doing the talking. These are the people who dealt Wall Street into the game with your neighbor's chips. And if those players are barely buying anymore, if they're actually selling, then how is this still squeezing you and your kids? The answer is hiding in something you do every single month: rent. Here's how the money actually moves. When one of these institutions wants a house, they don't do what you do. You get pre-approved, you make your offer, you sweat the appraisal, you pray the financing clears. Takes weeks. They show up with all cash, no appraisal, no financing contingency. They close in 7 days. 7. It takes longer than that to get a couch delivered. But Wall Street can pull an entire cul-de-sac onto its balance sheet in the time it takes you to decide whether to change your Netflix password. So it was never really about price. You got beat on speed. You weren't outbid because you weren't good for the money. You were outrun because the rules reward the player holding the fastest chips, the most chips, and the fastest ones. Then comes the part almost nobody knows about. They take the rent, your neighbor's rent, on the house down the block, and they bundle it. Thousands of homes, thousands of rent checks, packaged together into a single bond. And they sell that bond to investors. JP Morgan structured 1 year back, $1.2 billion, backed by the mortgages on 7,265 of these homes. They turned your neighborhood barbecue and the leaky gutter on number 42 into a financial product, traded by people in suits who couldn't find your town on a map. And here's the part that should make your teeth hurt. Blackstone buys the houses. BlackRock doesn't, but it turns out they're not so innocent either. They just don't get their hands dirty. They own a slice of the whole table. The builders putting up the homes, the lenders writing the paper, even the landlords like Invitation Homes. They don't play a hand, they own a cut of everyone who does. That's why they could shrug and back the bill. It never touched the part they actually own. So think about what that house actually is now, the one your kid wanted. It's not a home anymore. It's a coupon. It pays Wall Street a little slice every month, basically forever. And your family's whole role in that arrangement is to shut up and mail in the check. So here's the quiet part. The part somebody said out loud who probably shouldn't have. When the president got asked about all of this, he said that he doesn't want to hurt people who own homes because for the first time in their lives, they have valuable houses. Look at the trick in that one word, valuable. It doesn't mean your home is a better place to raise your kids or that the roof finally stopped leaking. It means it's a high-priced chip in their casino. They use value to dress up the truth. They've taken a basic human need and turned it into a barrier, one that keeps the next generation stuck on the wrong side of the door. Now here's the thing, nobody in charge actually wants home prices to come down. Not really, because most voters already own. So the entire machine is wired to protect the value of what you've already got, which happens to be the exact wall your kids can't climb over. That's not a conspiracy. It's just the cold math of who shows up to vote. They told on themselves. So hold on to that for a second, because it's the answer to the thing that's been nagging at you since minute one. Our president. He's the one who asked for this. He told Congress to go after Wall Street buying up homes. They did it. Both parties, 358 to 32. The exact win he wanted, gift wrapped, sitting on his desk. And he won't pick up the pen. Not because he's against it, because he wants to get paid twice for that one signature. You see, there's a second bill he cares about more, the SAVE Act. The headline piece is voter ID, which last I checked, polls around 82%. It's another thing most of the country actually wants. So he's not killing your housing relief. He's stacking it, dangling the pen on the popular bill to drag a second popular win across the line, and timing both to land together right before the midterms, when he needs the numbers most. Because that's all this really is. His approval, it cratered. It ticked up a little bit after Iran, and 2 more wins everybody likes, stacked on camera before November, is about the cheapest comeback in politics. And here's why he can run this play without losing a wink of sleep. Because you watched it the whole way down. The bill swings at investors already walking out the door. It never touches the layer Wall Street actually owns. And it won't lower the prices nobody in charge wanted lowered in the first place. That's the perfect bargaining chip. Popular enough that everyone's desperate for the win, toothless enough that sitting on it costs nothing and nobody. So that ambush everyone's panicking about, it's not an ambush on you. It's a move for him. He's not the villain here, and neither is BlackRock. He's just doing what politicians do. I mean, if it doesn't make money or doesn't win votes, it doesn't get done. The politician's creed. In this wins votes. But notice what that means for you. Whether this bill gets signed Tuesday or buried for good, your problem doesn't change. Your situation doesn't move an inch. The houses on your street were never getting cheaper because of it. This was never the thing that was going to save you. It's a loud, expensive, prime-time distraction. Wall Street was already walking out the door. Maybe this keeps them out down the road somewhere, that's fine, but it does nothing about the thing that's actually draining you right now. Today. Because while everybody's been screaming about who's buying the houses, the real story, the one that decides whether you can even afford to keep yours, is what's happening to the dollar in your pocket. It's inflation. It's what the Fed does next. That's not theater. That's the tide coming in under all of it. So the move is not fighting Washington over a bill that was always for show. That's politicians being politicians. They come and go. The move is turning around and watching the thing that's actually moving your money, which is exactly why I pulled this one out here for you to watch next. I mean, at the end of the day, Washington is playing for votes, but the Fed is playing for keeps. While everyone else is staring at the puppet show in DC, you need to be watching the only thing that actually determines if you can afford to keep your home. I just broke it all down right here. Check it out, and I'll see you over there. God loves you, and so do I. Take care.